You're watching BCTV. We're all about Branford. You're watching BCTV, Branford Government Television, a service of Branford Community Television. This program is brought to you in part through the support of the town of Branford.
Why don't we call this meeting to order? It's Thursday, December 10th, 2020. I've got 7:07 p.m. This is a regular meeting. We'll start by introducing members of our commission and staff. So I'll just call your name and indicate your presence. John Lust. John, are you here? John, you got to unmute yourself. We lose John.
I don't know. John should be able to. There you are. You should be able to do it because you're a co-host, John. Just
You're still muted.
I think down in the lower left corner, maybe. You.
There you are. Can you talk,
Okay.
John? Yes,
All right.
John. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, John's here. Joe Chadwick. Joe, are you here?
Joe Chadwick is present.
Fred Russo. Fred, are you here?
Fred Russo is present.
Joe Viuzzo. Joe, are you here? Rich Joe V is muted, looks like.
Joe Viuzzo's here.
Excellent. Marcy, are you here?
Marcy Blues is here.
And I don't see Massimo, but I'll ask Massimo, are you here? Don't see Massimo. Paul Higgins. Paul, are you here?
Paul Higgins is here.
Great. And our staff this evening, Harry Smith. Harry, you're here.
Yes, sir.
Caitlin Piazza. Caitlin, you're here.
Here.
And our clerk recording secretary, Michelle Martin, I believe was here.
Yes, I'm here.
And I'm Chuck Andrus, chair. We have a number of public hearings, and why don't we, I'll ask our secretary, Marcy, to read the notice of public hearings.
Okay. The Planning and Zoning Commission of the Town of Branford, Connecticut hereby gives notice. The public hearings to be held on Thursday, December 10th, 2020 at 7 p.m. by remote technology as authorized by Executive Orders 7B and 7I. Consider applications listed below. Information regarding how to participate in the public hearings will be provided on the meeting agenda that will be posted on the town's website at least 24 hours prior to the meeting. 1. Application number 20-10.6, special exception for grading, section 6.8, for the replacement of a gas tank located at 87 Harding Avenue, Indian Neck Yacht Club, care of Carl Burleps, applicant and owner. Hopefully I said that correctly. Item number 2, applicant number 20-11.4, special exception modification for drainage improvements and grading, section 6.8, located at 9 Elm Street LLC, care of Kevin O'Neill, applicant and owner. Item number 3, application number 20-11.7, special exception for a child daycare center located at 312 East Main Street, Brighton Early Daycare, care of April Lukasic, applicant and owner. At said hearings, all persons will have the right to be heard. A copy of the application materials will be made available at least 24 hours ahead of the meeting at https://www.dropbox.com/home/planning %20, %26, %20 zoning. under the folder for this particular meeting date. Written communication should be submitted by email to p-z@branford-ct.gov by noon of the day of the meeting for posting at the above Dropbox account associated with the town's website.
Chuck Andrews, Chair. Thank you, Marcy. We'll go over the rules for public hearings. We'll follow our normal procedure, which is the applicant will go first, make its presentation. After the applicant is done, we turn it over to commission and staff. Staff will provide a summary of its staff report, open up for question comments by commission. At that point, we'll open up to the public. We'll ask you to identify yourself for the record and make your comments, and then the applicant will respond to the public comments. We may or may not complete or close the public hearing this evening, depending on how it goes. With that, and I'll also ask either Caitlin or Harry to review the method to participate in public hearings through Zoom.
Harry Smith, Town Planner. I am actually going to recirculate an explanation provided by Kate at a prior meeting. So let's see how this goes.
The hearing portion on any of the applications Marcy just read in. You can do so multiple ways. If you're calling in to participate, you'll just press *9. That will alert the host that your hand is raised and you'll be unmuted in the order that you proceed. If you'd like to participate and you're joining via computer, you can either raise your hand by hovering at the bottom of the screen, going to finding yourself and doing the raise hand, or if you are unable to do that, you can enter into the chat. We just ask that you put that out to everybody and it will be read into the record. We also state your name before speaking each time you speak.
Was that audible?
Chuck Andrews, Chair. Yeah, that was pretty audible.
Okay. We can go over it again if you don't believe everyone. Trying to be a little efficient.
Chuck Andrews, Chair, and we're supposed to say our name before we speak, so that's why I keep doing it. With that, we'll turn to our first public hearing, which is Indian Neck Yacht Club, applicant and owner, Carl Burlespech, mastered that, 87 Harding Avenue, special exception for grading. The applicant ready to proceed?
Hi, my name is, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, my name is Joe Acarulo, and for now, I'm going to chair this. We have Carl Burleps on the line if you need to talk to him. He is the Commodore of this club, and I'm accompanied with Vicki Caroline. I have a rear Commodore here. We have our gas manager here for any questions or concerns that we need to answer. And the reason that we applied is we need to replace our existing gas tank, which was installed in 1992. We need to, by law, it's a 30-year tank, and it has to be replaced by 2022. So we are going through the process now so that we've got plenty of time to meet that deadline date of 2022. Our estimate, our planning, our timetable is we want to get this, if all goes well, replaced by the fall of next year, October, November, the latest, so that it is in place by the required deadline date of, I believe it's sometime in March of 22. So that is a reason for our application. And we've been working with the town and sent out our letters, et cetera, abutment letters. And if there's any, questions, or hopefully we have the right people in this room to answer whatever you need.
And
Thank you.
I'm Vicki Caroline. I'm a member here at the club. I have been working with Caitlin, and we've worked with Criscola Engineering, and we also have talked to Jamie, who I believe has sent a letter to the board about her requirement for the tank removal.
Oh, Chuck, you're muted.
Thank Chuck Andrews here. Thank you. Anything else before we turn it over from the applicant? Turn it over to staff and commission?
No, I think we're fine, unless we'll answer more questions if you have them.
Great. Chuck Andrews, Chair. Thank you. Caitlin, I understand you did the staff report. You want to review that with us now?
I did. Caitlin Piazza, just to kind of briefly go over why you guys are looking at it. This is a special exception for grading within 100 feet of a critical coastal resource. The replacement is a 4,000 gallon fuel tank. Comments were solicited from Deep and already received, which is Jamie Sidoriak, is the Jamie Victoria was referencing. Plans were prepared by Criscola Engineering. Initially, we needed some more details for erosion and sediment control, but we've since received them, and all of my comments have been satisfied. So, really, there isn't anything to go over beyond that.
Chuck Anders Chair. Thank you, Caitlin. Any questions from commission members or staff before we open it up to the public?
John Lusk, Commissioner, is that an underground tank or an above ground tank?
Underground.
It's an underground tank. Has there been any problem with leakage over the years?
No problems. Never.
No.
Never. Okay, good.
No, sir. Yeah.
No, that's great. Okay, thank you.
Chuck Anders Chair. Any other questions, comments from commission members or staff?
Chuck, I have a question.
Certainly.
Is the tank going in the same place that the old one is being removed?
Yes, it is.
Thank Chuck Anders Chair. Thank you. Any other questions, comments from commission members or staff? If not, then we'll open it up to the public. Does any member of the public wish to comment? Caitlin and Harry, do you see anyone who would like to comment?
I am looking and do not see anyone with a raised hand.
Check one more time. Any member of the public wish to comment?
I do not see any chat either.
Okay. Chuck Anders Chair. It sounds like there's don't see any public that wishes to comment. Are there any further questions from commission from the applicant? Any further comments from the applicant or the commission members or staff?
We are all set.
Great. Okay. Thank you. And nothing else from commission members or staff? Okay. Hearing none, I think we can close this matter as a public hearing, and this looks like something we can take up later. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
With that, then, we'll move on to, I believe, the second item, which is, I believe it's been withdrawn. Is that correct? Second item is the 9L LLC, a special exception modification for drainage improvements. Am I correct, Harry, that this matter has been withdrawn?
Harry Smith, Town Planner, it has been withdrawn in writing. That's correct.
Okay, so if you're here on that, that matter has been withdrawn. So then we'll move on to public hearing number 3, which is Bright and Early Daycare. And this is 312 East Main Street, a special exception for a child daycare center. And my understanding is that there's some wetlands matters and other matters that need to be addressed with this application. What's going on with this area, Kate?
Harry Smith, Town Planner. My understanding is the applicant team is at this very moment participating in the inland wetlands meeting, which is happening approximately the same time as this meeting. I also understand that I have not received the abutters notification receipt, so I do not think the commission can open the hearing without that being in place. There are some issues yet to resolve, so would suggest that the public hearing be reset for first regular meeting of the commission in January, which according to the schedule we haven't adopted yet is on the 14th.
Okay. So then for this item number 3 here, the child daycare center, we are not going to open that as a public hearing at this point. Still, there's other things pending. It appears that we will open this at our January 14th meeting. So if you're here on that, we will not be proceeding with that one this evening. So that brings us then, that concludes our public hearings then. So let's, and I understand so next item is the minutes. And I understand that our packet had the November 19th minutes. And I understand, Harry, that you want to review those a little bit more and make sure they're accurate. Is that correct?
Harry Smith, Town Planner, yes, there's some reformatting that needs to happen before you take action.
Okay, so
We'll have those ready for the next meeting.
Okay, Chuck Anders here, so we'll defer on that. With that, then maybe we can bring back item number 1 as a public hearing, which is the Indian Neck Yacht Club, 87 Harding Avenue, special exception for grading and replacement of the gas tank. And Caitlin, I believe you had some recommended findings for this application in your staff report.
Yes, I'm just gonna pull that up hopefully in just a moment.
By the way, was there a CAM part of this?
No.
Should there be?
No.
No.
No? Okay.
No.
It's exempt?
Yeah. So
Okay.
multitasking, I'm not overly good at it. Oh, sorry. Okay, didn't pull up the right one. One more minute. Okay, can everybody see the screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. So the proposed finding is that subject to the compliance with the conditions listed below, the commission finds based on the testimony and application materials presented that the proposed use of the property is consistent with the special exception criteria per section 6.8 and 9.8. And the proposed conditions include that all erosion control measures shall be installed to the satisfaction of the zoning enforcement officer and maintained throughout the project. A special exception approval shall expire 1 year from the date of this decision unless renewed by the commission. And prior to commencement of construction activities, DEP comments shall be incorporated into the proposed project to the satisfaction of the town planner or his designee, when such comments are also found to be required to satisfy the zoning requirements. And that's it.
Chuck Anders here. Thank you, Caitlin. Any questions or comments from commission members? Not then, would someone want to make a motion to approve this application and adopt the 5 conditions of approval that are in the staff report that Caitlin just reviewed?
Joe Vayuso moves to approve.
Motion made to approve by Joe Vayuso. Is there a second?
Chadwick seconds.
Joe Chadwick seconds. Any further discussion? All in favor? John Lust, are you in favor?
John Lust in favor.
Joe Chadwick, are you in favor?
Chadwick in the affirmative.
Joe Vayuso, Joe, are you in favor?
Joe in favor. Joe Vayuso in favor.
Marcy Palusi, Marcy, are you in favor?
Marcy Palusi's in favor.
And I am also in favor. So the application is approved by 5-0 vote. So that brings us then to our old business. First item in old business is the tidal basin application. And Harry, you have, we had a discussion at our last meeting. The census appeared to be deny the applications. And Harry did circulate draft resolution of decision. Harry, do you want to review those with us?
Sure. Harry Smith, Town Planner. All the commissioners should have received a copy of this last night. I'll share my screen here and just go over it so everyone see it right now. Hang on one second. Everyone should be able to see a draft resolution, application number 20-5.4. So essentially what I tried to do was take the rationale expressed during the discussion and deliberation of the commission to the framework for action in terms of posing some findings. So I have a few recitals here to start out, which is typical, just stating what the application is, what it for what the commission considered in its deliberations, all the documents, materials, staff reports, public comments, testimony, so forth during the public hearing. In addition, a memorandum from town engineer Ron Hefferly after the close of the public hearing, which is allowed, just providing an analysis of the information that was already in the applicant's received plans regarding potential elevations of flooding during a 100-year storm event. Again, the next recital, just the rest statement that that section of the zoning regulations requires any modifications to the use element in the master plan of the PDD would follow the zoning map amendment procedures, so that's the process that was followed to review the application, which gives the commission the most discretion. It's actually, kind of puts you in a legislative kind of. The next recitation is that just that we refer the application out to the DEP for comment because it's in the coastal management district along the Branford River. And subsequent to that referral, received a final comment letter from Brian Thompson, who's the director of the Land and Water Resources Division of the DEP, dated September 9th, that included a finding that the application was inconsistent with the Act. For a number of reasons specified in the letter that was in the record that also put on the screen during the deliberations of the commission last meeting on the 3rd. After that, we've got a recital about the consideration of all the documents, including the testimony, comments of the DEP, comments of the public hearing, and then getting into the proposed findings, which again I've tried to base on the reasoning expressed by the commission. So I have here that the application be reviewed and deliberated upon, following the procedures in that section of the zoning regulations, as well as the considerations of state law regarding zoning map amendments. Proposed finding here, the application is not in conformance with the town's plan of conservation development, including but not limited to the fact, and there should probably be the word "to" in here before the fact, that it proposes high density residential development in a location that is projected during a 100-year flood event to experience significant level of flooding, 5 feet to 7 feet ground elevation, the portion of the PDD proposed for the high density residential development, which is the 4 to 6 Avenue property. Following that, it's a third finding, which is that the application is not in accordance with the comprehensive plan of the town of Branford, which is expressed in the zoning map itself and the zoning regulations, since it would allow the location of high density residential in very close proximity to a source of disruption and noise and incompatible land use, which is the Amtrak line. And the fourth finding I'm proposing is that the commission is basing, in part, on the finding and comments of the DEP, Mr. Brian Thompson, as well as the failure of the application to propose appropriate measures to protect coastal resources, proposed development, the shoreline, and so forth, cited as a reasoning for your consensus to deny. This would be a statement that the application is not consistent with the goals and policies of the coastal management. And finally, just a concluding statement that you're denying it and summary of the rationale why. That is what I put together. Hopefully that reflects the consensus of the commission. And if we need to make some modifications right here, we could do it.
Chuck Anders, Chair. Thank you, Harry. Questions or comments from commission members? And I understand John Luss has recused himself from this. So Fred, you are sitting on this one. So I think
yes.
The members are Joe Chadwick, Fred, Joe Vayuso, Marcy, and myself, who are the people voting on this application.
Joe Chadwick, Joe Vayuso, Fred, Marcy, and you, right, Chuck?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
I thought that there was a sort of disparate, individual members mentioned different things. So this was Harry's effort to sort of incorporate that. I think it's probably fair, based on our comments, but does anyone have any other thoughts or comments?
Joe Vayuso, I don't know if it was mentioned, but I was concerned about the parking. Only 30 units and only 39 spaces.
Right, Joe. I know you did mention that. I think that the 39 spaces actually did comply with the regulations.
Did it really? I wasn't sure about that. Okay.
Right. Yeah. But parking is an issue if it's subject to flooding. I think, and particularly if it's a nuisance flooding, which is that was one of Bill Horn's point. We're not looking simply at a 100-year flood. It could be, that we expect to get more nuisance flooding as the years go on, which will affect. I mean, that will affect the parking area, and they have to move vehicles. So, I mean, in that respect, parking, I think, is implicated by this.
Yeah. Again, Harry Smith Town Planner is not directly on point, but other communities I've worked in have had requirements for larger residential developments, large requirements for guest parking, recognizing that, particularly in a location like this where you don't have any on-street parking, there's really little room in a, better world without COVID and people having parties, events, gatherings, that there really may not be sufficient parking. That's something maybe to look at in the future.
Any other thoughts or comments by anyone? If not, then if there are comments, great. But if not, then someone want to make a motion then that we adopt this resolution as that we deny the application. We adopt this resolution as our reasons for our decision.
Joe Vayuso moves to move a denial based on those reasons.
Okay. So motion made by Joe to deny the application and adopt the resolution as our reasons for denial. Is there a second?
Chadwick seconds.
Second by Joe Chadwick. Any further discussions? All those in favor, we'll go through the list. Joe Chadwick.
Chadwick's in favor.
Fred Russo.
In favor.
Joe Vayuso.
Joe Vayuso in favor.
Marcy.
Marcy in favor of denial of the application.
And I'm also in favor of denying and adopting the resolution as our reason. So that covers item number 1 of old business. That's the PDD modification. The second one is the site plan modification, also for Tidal Basin. And here you also sent around a proposed resolution for that one as well.
Harry Smith Town Planner, yes, I did. Again, I'll share my screen and just run through it quickly. And essentially, this application stands or falls because of the failure of the first application. It's an even shorter resolution. Again, just restated what the commission's basing its consideration upon, all the plans, documents, materials, testimony, comments, in the public hearing. And this application was considered as part of the public hearing for the PDD modification, the master plan amendment. Again, a statement finding here that recital that the commission has denied the associated plan district development PDD modification master plan amendment application. That the current master plan indicates that the property subject to application should be developed as hotel. So you have the underlying existing approval to prevent this application from being approved. within the Coastal Management District. The referral was sent, received a comment letter similar to the other resolution. Statement that you considered submitted documents, staff reports, DP, so forth. And your findings that the application is not in accordance with existing master plan and standards of the adopted Branford PDD applicable to the property. Again, based in part on the finding and comments of the DEP comment letter, as well as the failure of the application to propose appropriate measures to protect coastal resources adjacent to proposed development. The application is not consistent. And the final statement, not in accordance with existing master plan adopted PDD and inconsistent with the act for the findings, reasons noted above. And I also threw in for both of these additional reasons that may be found in the record. So that is it for that one.
Okay, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Harry. Any comments, questions by any of the commission members who are voting on this? Not then, does someone want to make a motion that we deny this application and adopt the resolution as our reason for denial?
Chadwick makes that motion.
Motion made by Joe Chadwick. Is there a second?
I'll second it. Marcy Plizzi.
Second by Marcy. Any further discussion? All in favor? Joe Chadwick, are you in favor?
Chadwick in favor.
Fred Russo. Fred, are you in favor?
Fred is in favor.
Joe Vayuso. Joe, are you in favor?
Joe Vayuso in favor.
Marcy, are you in favor?
Marcy's in favor.
And I'm also in favor of the motion to deny the resolution.
And Harry Smith, town planner, just for the record, just note again that John Lust recused himself and that Fred Russo is seated in his.
Correct. Yeah.
Thank you.
With that, then, continuing on old business, item number 3, our Mariners Landing, and that's something that Harry and staff are working. So, item number 6 is Goods Hill Point, PDD master plan. That is a matter that I believe Harry and I have been authorized to schedule a public hearing. That may be when are we ready to finalize that yet, Harry, or do we want to still wait?
I prefer to wait for the moment. Harry Smith, town planner again. I expect it to be in January. The DEP was notified, so we can go ahead.
So that will.
January.
Okay, maybe the 14th or the following week. So.
Yeah, I've got to check with. We
okay,
also
that brings us into item numbers.
Oh, go ahead. That's fine.
Okay. So that one that will be tabled, and we'll schedule the public hearing likely in January. Item number 7, 37 Bourbon Drive Associates. That's a subdivision modification. Question whether a lot line revision constitutes subdivision. And I believe we do have a staff report on that. Caitlin has prepared something on that. Caitlin, do you want to review that with us?
Sure. Caitlin Piazza here. So it's a proposal for a lot line revision. All lot line revisions come in as a subdivision until the commission finds that it is in fact does not constitute a re-subdivision. The properties are 37 and 41 Bourbon Drive, and it would be the transfer of about 6,600 square feet from 41 Bourbon to 37 Bourbon Drive. And the purpose, as described by the applicant, is to allow for the construction of a single-family dwelling at 37 Bourbon Drive, which is currently prohibited by the amount of wetlands that are on the property. I've reviewed the application per the subdivision criteria. I don't believe it constitutes a re-subdivision. There's no change to the street layout. There's no change to public use of land, and it doesn't diminish the size of a lot to make it non-conforming, so it should be all good.
Chuck Andrews, Chair. Thank you, Caitlin. Is the applicant here on this? I should have asked that first, I suppose. I don't
Good
know if there's a
evening.
representative from-
Yeah. Good evening. My name is Mike Bennett. I'm a professional land surveyor with Bennett and Smilas Associates, Inc., 415 Killingworth Road, Higginham, Connecticut. And I'm here tonight to represent the applicant on this proposal, and I'll be more than happy to answer any questions the commission may have.
Chuck Andrews, Chair. Thank you, Mr. Bennett. Do you have anything to add to what Caitlin has said? Is the understanding that this is being done so you have a buildable lot? That's what it sounds like.
Well, that's correct. And both lots were approved in 1956. And they are, based on our consideration, both buildable lots. However, one lot, 37, would require a wetlands application and a wetlands permit. With respect to submission of a wetlands application, the commission is going to ask us to present feasible and prudent alternatives to the filling of wetlands to allow a house to be built on the lot. We believe this lot line revision is a prudent and feasible alternative because a house, if this lot line revision is approved, then there will be sufficient upland review area to construct the house. So in order to help satisfy further applications with the wetlands, we felt that it was prudent for us to try to get this lot line revision approved. Thank you.
And the intent is to build single-family dwellings on both lots?
Well, one lot, lot 41, has an existing single-family dwelling on it. So it's the intent for the property owners and applicants to sell that lot with the house on it and build a house on the other lot.
Okay. Any, Chuck Andrews, Chair. Thank you, Mr. Bennett. Any questions from any commission members or staff?
I have a question. So yes. The second lot, 41 Bourbon, would not, or I guess it would conform to the size requirement for the R4. Is that correct, Caitlin?
Yes, both lots conform to the size requirements, even after the lot line revision.
Okay, and historically these were defined as two lots, and you're just reconfiguring them?
Correct.
Because they're by the same owner?
Correct. It was defined as two lots based on the 1956 subdivision, and we're just changing the lot line between the two lots.
Do we know if the wetlands has increased since 1956 when it was originally done? Did you look back on any aerial photos or GIS mapping at the state to see if that's a wetland that's growing over time or receding over time?
The wetlands, to the best of my knowledge, I don't even think it shows up on the town wetlands map. It's just it's a wetland area that happens to run through the center of the property. We had it delineated by a soil scientist. It's not a significant wetland or a large area. It's more a groundwater seep out of the side of the terrain there.
Right. So, obviously you would be required to go to inland wetlands for approval because the 100-foot upland review zone is basically the entire lot. So our approval would really be just addressing the lot line. Is that correct, Chuck?
That's
correct.
correct.
All we're doing is making sure this is not a subdivision or re-subdivision. confirming that. And it's really a matter of definition. And since no new lot is being created, it doesn't alter any open space, then we just got to make sure. Sometimes when you do these things, it could be creating a different lot and may meet the definition of a subdivision or re-subdivision. And this is simply a finding that it doesn't. This is simply a lot line revision, doesn't create additional lots, doesn't need subdivision approval.
Right.
Right, but it's creating a better space on the more environmentally impacted lot. So we're improving a situation.
Yeah, that's the applicant saying this will improve. It doesn't render the lot with a house on it has extra space. It doesn't render it non-conforming, so it has space to give away, and they can transfer it to the other one, and they have less impact on wetlands.
But it doesn't necessarily give them approval to build a house.
No,
they still need their wetlands approval. They
Right.
still have to comply with the setbacks and everything else.
Right. Okay.
And we're not approving a house. We're just saying it's not a
Yeah.
subdivision.
Right.
Any other questions or comments from anyone? If not, then what sort of motion do we make on these things? That make a motion that the proposed lot line revision does not constitute a subdivision or re-subdivision?
Harry Smith, Town Planner, yes, I think that's.
Okay. Does someone want to make that motion that the proposed lot line revision for 3741 Bourbon Drive does not constitute a subdivision or re-subdivision?
Marcy
John
Paluzzi, I'll
Lush, so
make that. So second, Marcy Paluzzi.
Okay, motion made by John and seconded by Marcy. Any further discussion? All in favor? John, are you in favor?
John Lust in favor.
Joe Chadwick, are you in favor?
Chadwick, yes.
Joe Vayuso, are you in favor?
Joe Vayuso in favor.
Marcy, are you in favor?
Marcy Paluzzi's in favor.
And chair is also in favor. So you're all set.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. That brings us into item number 8, which is 47 Gould Lane. This looks like this is a matter that I think we need to schedule for a public hearing, but we're waiting to hear from our town attorney because there's an environmental land use restriction on the property. Is that correct, Harry?
Yes, there are a number of other issues, but that's definitely a prime issue.
Okay. So this matter will continue to table that, and I think we have a standing motion that authorizes Harry in consultation with me to set a public hearing date. So with that, item number 9 is 10-day Associates, 221 West Main Street, special exception modification for landscaping. And I believe we granted a waiver in that. And our last public hearing is the applicant, and we're ready to proceed with that. Is the applicant have a representative here for that?
I'm the applicant. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
My name is Ken Ginsberg. I'm with Night and Day Associates. 377 Main Street, West Haven, Connecticut. Do you want me to start, or do you want me?
Yeah, you can proceed. Tell us what this is about.
Okay. So we did a complete rehab of the property. We put in a new parking area, repaved the existing parking area, I should say, repainted the building, put a new roof on, put new tenants in after our 20-year tenant, Porter and Chester, moved out. In doing so, we ripped out the existing landscaping, which was completely overgrown, and intended to put new plantings in. We hired a landscape architect to work with the town to comply with the landscaping regulations. And I have to confess that I don't know much about all the names and species of all the individual plantings. But I do know that we were all concerned about the size and survivability of the plant foliage. We didn't want to simply replace the plants that were called for in the original plan, because some of them just didn't work. For instance, the plants along the street, which has a very, very steep slope, never survived. I don't know what was in there before. It was before my time, but The plants, the trees, whatever was in there was not, pretty much was dead from impact from the salt from the streets during the winter and the harsh environment. So we're going to replace the old plantings with new plantings that will survive, with more plantings than we had before. And we skewed most of the plantings toward the front of the building and the areas that are visible to the public. We do have an area in the back that's not visible to the public and not visible to any neighbors. It's all pretty much rock behind there. So rather than putting plantings back there, we put plantings up in the front where they can be seen. We tried to make the plantings size compatible to the environment. Along the driveway area, we have power wires. So we made the plantings a little bit smaller, a little bit shorter, I should say, along that street area so that they would not interfere with the power lines, and basically skewed everything towards the front, toward the street and towards the driveway area. We put new plantings in the islands, and I think we addressed that some of the plantings could not meet the zoning regulation size because the size of the islands just don't allow for that. The islands, the existing islands, have lights, the parking lot lights in them. So the landscaping that we put in is compatible with the size of the existing islands, given the fact that the lights are there. I think that's pretty much about it. I wish I could tell you more about the individual species, but I'd leave that to the experts. And I don't know if anybody has any questions.
Chuck Angels here. Thank you. Why don't we ask Caitlin to review the staff report with us, and then we'll open up to see if anyone has any questions. Caitlin, are you ready to do that?
Sure, yeah. You guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
So I have the proposed landscaping plan up right now. I'm gonna just bring us back to the original plan first, just so we have an idea of that. Okay, can everybody see that?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, so this was the originally approved plan. It's relatively minimal, probably due to the age. Our landscaping requirements have changed significantly since then. Like Ken said, the majority of this has either been pulled out or just not survived due to existing conditions, which includes slopes, road salt, probably not great soils for specific species, things like that. So this doesn't comply with the current landscaping requirements. And then I'm going to pop back up what's proposed and kind of briefly go over the waivers that are being requested, because the proposed plan does also not comply with the landscaping requirements as they are now. So they are applying for a waiver for excellence in landscaping design. So everyone can take a look at that, and just to go over some of the issues rather than going over what's satisfied. So we have a requirement for canopy trees to be at least 35 feet in height at maturity. And those would be required along West Main Street. And there's currently a pretty decent slope and road salt because it's pretty heavily traveled. So they've not proposed that large of a species. They're doing an autumn brilliance as well as some lower plantings. So the front yard isn't satisfied, so they'd be asking for a waiver for that. Some of the shrubs, just due to the species that were selected, which I believe was because of their hardiness, won't reach 18 inches, which is the minimum planting requirement that we have. But for example, creeping juniper is just never going to get to that height. So that's another waiver that's being sought. There's a swath missing on the, next place. One of the side yards where hemlock were originally proposed. There's also a steep slope there, and they've all since either been ripped out or died. So there's no additional planting for there. It's just going to be a grass area. The planting bed around the building itself is satisfied. It exceeds 25% is the requirement for around the building, and it looks to be just about half of it, at least a third. And then the landscape island requirements, they are existing islands and they're not proposing to change the parking lot at all. So they've not proposed the 150 square feet that's required for each island. And they're not proposing trees that would meet our minimum height requirement. And that is mostly due to size of the island, that there's lights in each of the islands and there's overhead utilities along the side yard. And I think that's just about it. I can pull up the planting schedule if anybody has a question about specifics. But overall, it does represent an increase in the landscaping that was there originally proposed and certainly what is currently present on site. So the commission would just need to find or not that this is excellence in landscaping design and it's been brought into conformance to the extent feasible, knowing that it's already an existing site.
Chuck Anders Chair. Thank you, Caitlin. Does any members of the commission have any questions or comments on this one? Did I, Marcy, are you recused from this one?
Yes, I'm recused from this.
Okay, so we need someone to sit in for Marcy. Is it, do we know who's, is it, it sounds like it'd be either Fred or Paul. Do we know who's up?
Harry Smith, Town Planner. I believe since Fred sat in on Tidal Basin, it's Paul.
Okay, Paul, are you here? Mm-hmm. Paul, are you, I'm just checking if Paul's here. Paul's still with us.
I just unmuted, Chuck. Yes, I'm here. Paul.
Okay, great. Just make sure. Okay, great. Okay, does any members of the commission have any questions or comments from the applicant or Caitlin about this? And this is not a public hearing, so we don't need to open up to the public.
I'm just Harry Smith, Town Planner, looking just to see if there are any comments or questions by anyone in attendance anyway, and if there's any chat. I can see nothing, no hands raised and no chat.
Okay. Okay, Caitlin, you had some suggested conditions, I think?
I did. I have to pull up my staff report. I didn't get a printed one or another. Do you guys want to go over those now or?
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah. Does anyone else have any questions from the applicant or Caitlin about what's going on here? No, why don't we review that with us, Caitlin?
Okay. So the first finding would be that the compliance with section 6.3K4, 6.3G2, 6.3F3, and 6.3E1 are waived per section 6.3L, as the commission finds that the overall landscaping plan constitutes excellence in landscaping design. And subject to compliance with the conditions listed below, the commission finds, based on the testimony and application materials presented, that the proposed use of the property is consistent with the special exception criteria per section 6.8. There's no change in use. This is purely landscaping, but since it's a modification, it's in there. So first condition is to ensure the survival of plant materials. The applicant shall submit a landscaping cost estimate prepared by a landscaping professional and revise the existing bond with the town. If the estimate exceeds the existing amount of $11,900 that's currently with the town, such bond or financial guarantee shall be in favor of the town of Branford pursuant to section 6.3 M3 of form, content, and amount as determined by the zoning enforcement officer, as he may be advised by the town engineer and the town attorney, except that this financial guarantee shall not be in the form of a surety bond. The second would be to ensure continued compliance with the zoning regulations. All landscaping must be maintained as an ongoing requirement of this approval. Any landscaping element that does not survive or that becomes significantly damaged must be replaced in kind. The third one, Commission might want to discuss. I think I reviewed that some of the proposed ground cover isn't going to reach 18 inches, so putting it in at 18 inches isn't going to be feasible. So that's going to be an additional waiver that we'll have to add. But the caliber of the trees should still go in at 2.5 to 3 inches, I believe. And then fourth is prior to the release of the bond, the zoning enforcement officer shall inspect the site for compliance with the proposed plan as well as these conditions. And 5, any changes to the approved landscaping plan with the exception of those required by these conditions shall require approval from the Planning and Zoning Commission or staff per section 5.5D. That's it.
Okay, just share. Thank you, Caitlin. Does the applicant have any comment on those proposed conditions? I guess condition 3 there was a question about, or can the applicant address that, or I mean, you kind of deferred. I understand that.
Yeah, I think the only thing that I can say is that there was something in there about certain size requirement of a certain type of foliage, and I don't believe that. I believe the landscape architect said that type of foliage doesn't really come. It needs to grow, and I think that the plan was that you get something smaller. That we would get something smaller that would eventually grow to be that height, but you can't really find something that height from day one. And that also, because it was on the slope, that it would be a much better idea to get something that was smaller, that would root better in the slope. And I think that's why a smaller planting was suggested. So I think number 3, we were looking to get a waiver on that.
Okay, checking to share. Okay, so if we were to grant a waiver on that, Caitlin, for the reasons I guess that he stated, then you would strike the second part of that sentence and then add in the findings that we're waiving that requirement. Is that what you're suggesting, or saying that way it can be done?
Yeah, I guess the commission could just allow for it to be planted as proposed within the planting schedule, and condition 3 could be removed in its entirety, and an additional waiver, like you said, be added to 1. Of course, I don't have the zoning regs in front of me right now, so I'm not exactly sure what section that will be. So I'll need a minute to get that.
Sure. And Caitlin, I thought that you said the first part of the condition 3, which is the size of the deciduous trees be 2.5 to 3 inch caliber. You think that should stay in, but the second part comes out. Is that which was the installation of shrubs for the groundwater shall be 18 inches? Is that correct?
I thought the trees weren't going to be a problem, and it was just the ground cover.
Is the applicant, is that correct?
But yeah, it sounded like Ken was saying that both of them were going to be an issue, and
Yes, I believe both of those are going to be an issue just because of the root structure and to allow a much better root structure to grow a little bit slower, and specifically at the also it's at the top of the slope, if you're at the top of the slope, you can't have a tree that big growing at the top of a slope, moving down. I don't know what else to say. It's at the top of a very steep slope. And if you have too much of a tree without much of a root system, it's going to be a very difficult, a tree's just not going to survive. So to that extent, my understanding is, and again, I'm not an expert at these things, but I just understand the basics, that if you put in too big of a tree to start with, it's just never going to survive. So the idea is to get a smaller tree to start, and let it grow, let it root, and eventually it will be that big.
Okay,
so be the 2.5 to 3 inch caliper.
Well, what it sounds like, you're requesting a waiver of both of those elements from condition 3, and it's basically based because of the topography. It sounds like of the slope and the size of what's there now, that you figured this is the better way to have something that fits the site. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes. Thank you very much.
Okay. Does anyone else have any thoughts?
Harry Smith, Town Planner. If that's what the Commission would like to do, and you wish to strike proposed condition 3, if you added to finding 1, reference to section 6.3E, that would cover the 2.5 to 3 inch tree size, as well as the 18-inch requirement for shrub. And also, there's just a couple of typos on the finding. On number 2, at the very end, the reference should be to section 9.8. And in proposed condition 5, the reference at the end should be to 9.6.b.
963?
9.6b.
9.6b. Okay. Okay, then. So I understand. So the changes to the resolution would be in finding number 1, you would add 16.3e. Is that correct, Gary?
6.3e.
6.3e. 6.3e. To there isn't 6.3e already there?
1 is there. You need to add 3 to it. I didn't even look for it because it went alphabetically.
Okay. So add 6.3e3.
Right.
That. Okay.
Right.
So we add that to 1. In number 2, we change 6.8 to 9.8. We delete condition 3. We renumber 4 and 5, make them 3 and 4. And on number 5, we delete 5.5D and put 9.6D.
Exactly right.
Okay. Okay, I don't know if everyone got that. Does anyone have any further comments or thoughts? If not, then does someone want to make a motion to approve the application in accordance with the resolution as with the revisions that we just discussed, with the findings and the deletion of the condition and so forth?
Joe Vayuso approves with all those changes.
Okay, motion made by Joe. Is there a second?
John Lust will second that.
John seconds. Okay, we'll go through the list there. John, you in favor?
John Lust in favor.
Joe Chadwick, are you in favor?
Chadwick is in favor.
Joe Vayuso, are you in favor?
Joe Vayuso in favor.
Paul, are you in favor?
Paul Higgins in favor.
And I'm also in favor, so application's approved.
Thank you very much, everyone. Have a happy and a healthy holiday.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
I'm
you.
going to sign off.
So that's going on to item number 10, which is Leeds Island Road. That's a matter then that we need to schedule a public hearing for, and I guess we have authority for Harry to schedule that when it's appropriate. And I guess you're still not ready for that one. Is that correct, Harry?
Harry Smith, Town Planner. Yes, that is listing a lot of information to spur starters.
Okay. Next, we have item number 11, which is Gerald Mastrangelo, I'm sorry, 289 Shore Drive, coastal site plan. That's in the Short Beach zoning and it's coastal site plan only. And I believe that's something that we can address this evening. Is the applicant here for that?
Yes, I'm present. It's Jerry Mastrangelo.
I'm sorry about that. Okay.
That's okay.
You can, do you want to proceed?
No, I guess John is supposed to be giving the presentation. I don't know why he's not on.
Hi, good evening. For the record, John Gable with Connecticut Consulting Engineers on behalf of Jerry Mastrangelo. We are going for a coastal site plan application for the property known as 69 Shore Drive. We are proposing to demolish the existing garage and propose a new three-car garage with a breezeway that's an addition to the existing dwelling. As part of our application, we had to look at the coastal resources around the area and to see if we impact them in any way. We worked closely with the town staff and the Connecticut DEP on a few matters. One of them is the coastal resources and to identify them. And the other one was not part of this application, but we're working with them for a COP permit, both of which we have correspondence for, I believe, from, what was her name? I think it's in your paperwork. But anyway, so the existing garage, I want to make one point, is non-conforming to the current zoning regulations. And the new addition will conform to the current zoning regulations. We meet all of the side setbacks, front setback, and rear setback coverages. We did receive approval from the Short Beach Civic Association. We also addressed the concerns regarding the flood zone requirements because the home is in portion of the AE 11 zone. All the new addition will be conforming to FEMA requirements in terms of the base flood elevation of 11. There were 3 comments from staff that we were addressing. One of them was the construction sequence that the S&E control measure shall be installed, and we have it under note number 3 in the construction sequence. The second comment was to incorporate all DEP comments. We addressed all the concerns except for one note we have to add, is the addition of silt sacks in the 3 lawn drains to the southeast portion of the property. They're kind of far away. We believe that the silt fencing should be able to accommodate the construction, but as an additional measure, we feel that we would accept to put silt sacks in those catch basins, like I said, to the south and southeast portion of the property near the seawall. So we have to add a note for that. And the third item was the construction sequence, that there was a note that we had to amend, which we did. I think it was note number 3. I'd like to see if the commission had any additional comments regarding our proposal.
Thank you, Mr. Gable.
Thank you.
Let's we'll first ask Caitlin to review the staff report, and then we'll see if the commission, our staff, has any questions. Caitlin, I think you did this. Do you want to review it with us?
Sure. Caitlin Piazza. John pretty much touched on everything. This is in Short Beach zoning, so we're not really concerned about the conformance to the zoning regulations. It already has a sign off from Short Beach. We've pretty much addressed all the comments I had initially, which were pretty minimal to begin with. The only thing, and it's just more of a note, is that there's no vegetated buffer, which we usually like to see integrated, but there's an existing lawn area and a seawall that's separating the house and the construction from any critical coastal resources that have been identified on the site. So that's really just a note more than anything else. I don't think the commission typically has required a vegetated buffer when there's kind of an impact already from a seawall. And DEP, I don't think, had anything to say about that. And I think That's it. I will say that on my conditions of approval, number 3 can be removed because it was already addressed, and that's pretty much it.
Okay, understood. Thank you, Caitlin. Questions or comments from commission members?
John Lusk, Commissioner, did we get a comment from the state? Caitlin?
DEP? Yeah. Yep. They didn't have any comments except for, I think, some extension of silt fencing, which I think John said was incorporated into the plan.
Okay. All right.
Okay, sure. Thanks, John. Any other questions, comments from commission members?
And John, I did keep a condition in there that they just address any comments from DEP. Just kind of blanket that.
Okay.
Okay, it sounds like there are any, there's no other conditions. So, Mr. Gable, looks like we'll see what we do, but it looks like there's 2 proposed conditions, and it sounds like you're okay with those. Is that correct?
Yes, we are okay with those conditions.
Okay, great. Okay, then, any other comments from commission members or staff? Then we'll close this matter as an item and let's take it up. Does it sounds like Caitlin, do you want to just pull up your proposed finding and conditions?
Yes, I will do that. Okay, so Caitlin here. The first and only finding is that the coastal site plan is consistent with the goals and policies of the Coastal Area Management Act and incorporates conditions and modifications necessary to mitigate adverse impacts on coastal resources and any future water-dependent activities. The first condition is that prior to the start of construction, erosion control measures shall be installed. And the second is comments from the DEP shall be incorporated into the plans. And 3, as discussed, can be removed.
Checking your chair. Thank you, Caitlin. Any further comments from commission members? Not that someone want to make a motion that we approve this application and adopt the findings and conditions recommended in the staff report as amended, which essentially is deleting condition 3.
Make a motion as presented.
Motion made by Marcy. Is there a second?
Chadwick seconds.
Joe seconds. Any further discussion? All in favor? John, are you in favor?
John Lust in favor.
Joe Chadwick, are you in favor?
Chadwick in favor.
Joe Vayuso, are you in favor?
Joe Vayuso in favor.
Marcy, you in favor?
Marcy Paluzzi in favor.
And chair is also in favor. So it's approved. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That brings us then to item number 12, which is a PDD master plan modification for Sterling Ridge. And again, that's something that we will schedule a public hearing for when Harry, whatever you think it's appropriate. Again, you don't have a recommendation at this point. Is that correct?
Harry Smith, Town Planner. I do not. Again, looking at staffing situation, hoping in January, so I can't guarantee it'll be the first meeting, but.
Okay, so it'll be likely at either first or second meeting in January.
Yes.
Okay, that brings us into new business. And the first item is 8 Howard Avenue, proposed 2-lot subdivision. And that just showed up, so we need to, you haven't done the review yet, so we need to table that. Is that correct?
Harry Smith, Town Planner. Yes, I would suggest tabling that. Also, new business item number 2 as well.
Okay. And number 2 is a coastal site plan, so another new item, so we'll just table that one as well. So that brings us then to other business. And the first item of other business is the schedule of the 2021 Planning and Zoning Commission meetings. And I think you may have reviewed that with us last time, Harry, but perhaps can you pull it up and show it to us?
Give me a second. I can. Again, Harry Smith, Town Planner. Almost there. Nope, that's not right. Sorry. Almost there. There.
There it is.
Okay. It's hiding. So essentially, these are the same dates that we discussed last meeting. Have shifted, as we discussed, the January meeting dates away from the holidays, so they would start on the second Thursday instead of the first Thursday. Suggesting having a fallback meeting on the third Thursday in case we need it right before the end of the time frame to decide Mariners Landing, the expansion. Again, 28th would be the fourth Thursday, I believe, in January. And then in February, March, April, so forth, we'd be in the normal sequence, first and third Thursdays. No meetings in August. September, the second meeting falls on, I believe, Yom Kippur. My understanding is that starts the day before, so that the holiday would be over at sundown on the 16th, which is about 7 p.m. Starting at 8 would give folks celebrating the holiday a chance to get something to eat, because that's the part of the holiday and the observance is fasting. So seems only fair. Again, on October, November, first and third Thursdays. In December, proposing the second Thursday again to try and close the holiday gap a little bit. Keep us away from Thanksgiving as well. Also noting by Zoom technology is how we'd be holding the meetings, and hopefully with any luck at all, at some point in 2021, we can resume in-person meetings. Usual location.
Mm-hmm. Sanders Chair, thank you, Harry. Any questions or comments from anyone? Not, does someone want to adopt the proposed 2021 meeting dates as our planning and zoning schedule for 2021? And by Harry.
So moved by Chadwick.
Okay, Joe makes a motion to approve the schedule. Is there a second?
Marcy Paluzzi, so second.
Second by Marcy. Any further discussion? All in favor? John in favor?
John Luft in favor.
Joe Chadwick in favor?
Chadwick in favor.
Joe Vayuso?
Vayuso in favor.
Marcy?
Marcy Paluzzi in favor.
And I'm also in favor. So that's it for item number one. Item number two is a bond release for 117 Linden Avenue. Harry, what's that about?
Harry Smith, Town Planner. Bond is for, I believe, a driveway bond, out of $500. I have a memorandum from Daniel Brennan, our CEO, recommending release of the bond. Work was completed. A full release of the bond, amount of $500 is recommended.
Is there a motion to release the bond for 117 Linden Avenue as recommended by the zoning enforcement officer?
John Luft, so moved.
Marcy Paluzzi,
Give it to
second.
John with the second for Marcy. Any further discussion? All in favor? Johnny in favor?
John Luft in favor.
Joe Chadwick?
Chadwick in favor.
Joe Vayuso?
Ayuso in favor.
Marcy?
Marcy Paluzzi in favor.
And I'm also in favor. Next one, item number 3 is bond release for 288 Pine Orchard Road.
Again, I'm a Harry Smith Town Planner, identical situation. $500 bond for establishment of a compliant driveway. Have a memorandum from Daniel Brennan, zoning enforcement officer. The work has been completed in compliance with regulations. He's recommending the bond released in full in the amount of $500.
Someone will make a motion to release the bond for 288 Pine Orchard Avenue for $500 as recommended by the zoning enforcement.
Marcy Paluzzi makes that motion.
Motion by Marcy, is there a second?
John Lust, second.
Second by John, further discussion. All in favor? John in favor?
John Lust in favor.
Joe Chadwick?
Chadwick in favor.
Joe Vayuso?
Ayuso in favor.
Marcy?
Marcy Paluzzi in favor.
And I am also in favor. Item number 4 is a bond release for 14 Squaw Brook Road.
Again, Harry Smith Town Planner. Again, identical situation. The bond was for $500 for establishment of a driveway. Memorandum from Daniel Brennan, the zoning enforcement officer, saying the work has been completed and he recommends a release of the bond in full in the amount of $500.
I want to make a motion to release the bond for 14 Squaw Brook Road of $500 as recommended by the zoning enforcement officer.
Ayuso in favor.
Joe makes the motion. Is there a second?
Marcy seconds.
Marcy seconds. All in favor? John, are you in favor?
John Lust in favor.
Joe Chadwick?
Chadwick in favor.
Joe Vayuso?
Joe Ayuso in favor.
Marcy in favor?
Marcy's in favor.
I'm also in favor. Bond release, item number 5, bond release for 3 Watrous Avenue. Harry?
Harry Smith Town Planner. This bond was for landscaping. This was for a 2-family. You may recall it was approved, I believe, about a year ago. It's for the amount of $5,200. And I have a memorandum from Daniel Brennan, the zoning enforcement officer, saying he's inspected the property for completion of the associated landscaping. And he's saying the landscape has been installed, meeting the requirements of the approvals, and he recommends the full release of the bond, the amount of $5,200.
Okay. We have something that has to survive, right? I mean, do we hold a bond in the event to make sure it survives or something, or no? What do we do with that?
We sometimes do, but usually you put a condition on approval saying that survival landscaping is a required element of continued compliance with the approval, so that basically if the landscaping dies, you can go and say you're not in compliance with the approval issued by P&Z, which makes it an enforcement issue. But
no, I understand. I just wasn't sure how to.
I don't think we did on that one.
Okay. We didn't. Okay, so I want to make a motion to release the bond for 3 Watrous Avenue in the amount of $5,200 as recommended by the zoning enforcement officer.
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Marcy. Is there a second?
John Lust will second that.
John seconds. Further discussion? All in favor? John, you in favor?
John Lust in favor.
Joe Chadwick?
Chadwick is in favor.
Joe Vayuso?
Joe Ayuso in favor.
Marcy?
Marcy's in favor.
And the chair is also in favor. Item number 6 is a time extension request for 1721 North Branford Road. Harry, what's this about?
Harry Smith Town Planner. I will just show you this development on my screen here in a second. I should be able to see this site plan up here. This goes back to 2013. And you may recall last year, and I believe the year before, there was requests from the property owner for a time extension. The original 5 years lapsed 2018. Where it did lapse, the applicant requested a 1-year extension, which was granted. And last December, they requested another 1-year extension. They have asked for a third one-year extension. And I don't have really a rationale for it other than they haven't succeeded in marketing the proposed construction on someone interested in constructing it. I believe it was, these are three sort of adjoining, almost close, buildings in sequence here that could be used as, I believe it was contractor condos kind of thing. So they'd each have a large warehouse space behind it and a little spot for an office and garage doors. And that was the proposal.
Okay, and what's the request for an extension for how long?
For 1 year. And just to clarify a little bit more, there were two letters put on the Dropbox. Slightly confusing. There was a modification approved in 2014 to eliminate a sidewalk requirement front here. So that did not change the time frame. So the applicants requested an extension of both approvals, but that's not required. The only one that has a clock running on it is the 2013 approval. So I would suggest that should you wish to do so, that you grant an additional 1 year extension to application number 13-10.4.
Okay. So he's requested a 1 year extension of time to complete the proposal at this point, right? And
that's exactly right. Yeah.
Right. And it's within our authority to grant an extension, and I'm not aware of any changed circumstances that would, the reason why we shouldn't, I guess. My God.
You've done it twice already, so.
Okay. Yeah, they have a total, they get up to 10 years, right? So, they're requesting 1 year extensions, it sounds like.
Yeah, they could request two more.
Right.
Take it out 3 more years from now.
Okay.
That would be it.
Any questions from anyone? It's a request for a 1 year extension to complete the proposal. If it sounds okay, does someone want to make a motion to approve the a 1 year extension to complete the building for application, the one that Harry said it was, 13.4? Was that what you said, Harry?
Yes.
Marcy Paluzzi will make that motion.
Okay, motion made by Marcy. Is there a second?
Joe Bayuso seconds.
Joe seconds. Further discussion? All in favor? John, you in favor?
John Lust in favor.
Joe Chadwick in favor?
Chadwick in favor.
Joe Bayuso, are you in favor?
Joe Bayuso in favor.
Marcy, you in favor?
Marcy Paluzzi in favor.
And chair's also in favor. So, item number 7 under other business is discussion of communication from Matt O'Buck regarding issuance of a zoning permit authorization of issuance of a building permit for construction at 8 Lewis Drive. And I understand this was a request by a citizen to speak with us regarding construction of a house neighboring that I guess he lives next door to. I will note that I think this is something we probably don't have jurisdiction over, but let's hear what this is about.
Okay.
There, you want
if he is on the line, I will look to unmute him in a second, but I just want to point out that, again, Harry Smith, Town Planner, there was some communication sent by President, I believe, Mr. O'Buck, Matthew O'Buck. He is objecting to a house being built at 9 Lewis Drive, and he lives right next door to that location. This was the subject of a previous variance. The house being constructed, variances were issued. I think the owner of the property changed their minds and decided to build a slightly smaller house that did not need to use the variance that was issued. Submitted an application to the building department for that. It was reviewed by the zoning enforcement officer who granted approval and authorized the issuance of the building permit from the zoning end of things. And Mr. O'Buck disagrees, my understanding, with that decision by the zoning enforcement officer. I did have a discussion and some email communication with Mr. O'Buck. Pointed out the proper body to go to was the zoning board of appeals, and sent him information on how to apply and a form. And that's where things stand. I believe maybe a silt fence was knocked over and has been since fixed. Quickly is my understanding. So with that, I'll see if I can find Mr. O'Buck in the list of people attending the meeting and see if I can unmute him. I think it's MBCAIR. I'm just guessing, so I'm going to see if that person is Mr. O'Buck. So if you can hear me, Mr. O'Buck, you probably would have to unmute yourself. I've asked you to unmute yourself, but I can't unmute you directly. You should be able to do that in the lower left corner of your screen. There should be a little microphone icon. You're on a computer.
Maybe you can type in the chat if
it could type a chat too, but let's see if you have a problem, just type something in the chat.
Right, just acknowledge that he's here at least.
He's saying wrong person, so
okay.
That's helpful.
Okay.
So I will look through to see if anybody, everybody else clearly seems not to be Mr. O'Buck. If there's somebody there, you're registered under another name, want to raise your hand with the raise hand feature, or I think it was *9 if you're on a telephone. I'm looking again through the list. I don't know who Alexa is, but I'm assuming that's probably not Mr. O'Buck. Other people I'm recognizing. And I'm not seeing him in attendance at the meeting at the moment. So based on that, again, I will emphasize to Mr. O'Buck his route of recourse is to the Zoning Board of Appeals.
And Chuck Anderson, Chair, I agree with you 100%, Harry, that if disagrees, thinks the zoning enforcement, that the zoning permit was wrongly issued, the process is to appeal to the Zoning Board of Appeals. We don't even have authority to consider that. Okay, so I guess that's it for item number 7. The other items, one thing that didn't make it onto the agenda, I know we have planners report, is election of officers. That's something I think under our bylaws we're supposed to do at our December meeting. Is that correct, Harry?
Harry Smith, Town Planner. That's my understanding. Yes, I apologize for leaving that off the agenda.
We did have a brief discussion last time, and I did get a call from Massimo. I think what we've done in the past is asked an alternate to make a poll to see if anyone's interested. And, I'm got nothing, no better way to spend my Thursdays, I guess. But I could continue, but I don't know if anyone else is interested, or if Massimo is Massimo here. I don't think he is. If there's any interest, my thought was this: if no one's interested, if we want to just keep the same team, which would be the same chair and the same secretary, which is myself and Marcy, then we could do that. If there's any interest otherwise, we can defer. But if we don't, I just don't know where it is. I feel a little, awkward even raising this because I'm a candidate, right? Someone else wants it.
Chuck, I'll keep going. I'll make the move that we just keep things the same.
Okay.
So I'm happy with that.
Okay. Well, let's.
Chuck's doing a great job. This is Marcy speaking. I don't know if I'm doing as good a job as he. If somebody wants to replace me, that's more than fine. But I would vote for Chuck to remain.
Well, we'll just go down the list. John, do you have any thoughts?
I am in agreement. You've done a great job. So is Marcy.
Okay. Joe Chadwick. Joe?
I spoke to Massimo at length about this, and there's on the committee, and I'm totally in favor of keeping things the way they are.
Okay. And Marcy, I think you're still up for being secretary and reading those notices. I mean, okay. and filling in, okay.
I don't know about some of those name pronunciations. I'm going to have to get a review before I read them some days.
Okay, then I think that's okay. Someone want to make a motion then that we, for the next year, that we continue with the same slate as for Marcy Pelusi as secretary and Charles Andrus as chair of our commission.
Joe Vayuso makes that move.
Motion made by Joe. Is there a second?
Chadwick seconds.
Second by Joe Chadwick. Any further discussion? All in favor? John, are you in favor?
John Lust in favor.
Joe Chadwick in favor.
Chadwick is in favor.
Joe Vayuso in favor.
Joe Vayuso in favor.
Marcy, you in favor?
Marcy's in favor.
And I'll also go along. Okay. Okay, planners report. Harry, you got anything?
Well, Harry Smithtown Planner, just that this is the appropriate moment to announce the departure of our assistant planner, Caitlin Piazza. She is moving on to become the historic preservation officer in the city of Allentown, Pennsylvania, starting next Monday. So wish her good fortune. She'll be successful. So sorry to see her go. She's also graciously agreed to do a little part-time work to keep a couple of the applications she has started with through to conclusion in the next little period where we hopefully hire a new person. So that process is underway. We have notices out through Eid, I believe, and I posted a notice on the Connecticut listserv, as well as the website of the Connecticut chapter of the American Planning Association, the Rhode Island chapter, the Massachusetts chapter, the New York Upstate chapter, and I believe the New York City Metropolitan chapter. So hopefully we will see some response to that, and we'll keep you posted, of course. Also, to aid us in going forward here for the next few months, in the process of finalizing a formal arrangement to solicit the services of Powell Harbor Associates. They were our consulting planners earlier this year. John Guskowski and Mike D'Amato. Hopefully between all of these efforts and we can keep on going here, and we're just hoping the application load drops just a little bit to let us keep up. So I've also been negligent in reporting to you on minor site plans, so I will try and do that holiday break and assemble a list, probably about a dozen so far I've approved the last year or so. I want to review those with you just to know what's going on. We will be probably putting out an RFP for a consultant for the affordable housing plan, for which we received a state grant of $15,000. So that RFP will probably go out over the holidays also. We will just keep on going and regroup, and we'll get back to more proactive stance in the department as we can.
Okay, to share. Thanks, Harry. Well, Caitlin, I don't know. I mean, we understand. You got your master's degree in historic preservation, and Billy Joel was talked about Allentown, Pennsylvania, and, right? He seduced you, and you got seduced by his charms. And,
but Billy Joel's from New York.
Yeah, I'm blaming Billy Joel on this. You shouldn't listen to him, man. I don't know what you're thinking. I mean, this is,
I think it was Bruce Springsteen, Chuck.
Bruce is from New Jersey. I think it'd be. Who is it? There is a famous Pennsylvania group from Allentown. Two guys from the 80s. Can't think of them right now.
Yeah, I just know the song Allentown. But in any event, she bought it. And it's I mean, look at tonight. She did all staff reports for tonight. You had it down. We got some low tech people here, like Barry and me and whatever. So you're keeping us afloat there. And damn. So I don't know. Well, we hope it goes well for you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Great while you're here.
This is not the final goodbye. We will hopefully be seeing Kate's presence at a future meeting in January. Or maybe she'll be behind the scenes, depending on what happens out there in Pennsylvania.
If you miss the shoreline, you know where to find us.
Yeah, and if
Pennsylvania's landlocked,
anybody finds themselves in Pennsylvania, look me up. I'll buy you a drink.
Well, we may collectively take you up on that. Maybe on the 14th of January, we'll just go to Allentown.
We can have the meetings anywhere via Zoom. It really doesn't matter. We can road trip.
Right.
Okay, Harry, anything else?
No.
Okay, so our next meeting is January 14th, so we got a little space, which is nice.
Woohoo!
Yeah, we do.
Okay. Great. Anything else from anyone?
As a native coal cracker, I just want to say via Candidos.
Okay.
That's right. She's going to go down and look for votes. She's going to go.
I grew up not far from Allentown, so.
Right.
Oh, really, Joe? I should have. I'll email you.
Where'd you grow up?
A town called Atlas, right near Mount Carmel.
I have family in East Greenville, which is outside of Allentown.
Mount Carmel, the location of kind of an impact fee court case or something. Does that ring any bells with you? I think it's some kind of famous federal court case.
Yeah.
But anyway,
no, we're right. It is right next to Centralia, the home of the famous mine fire.
Ah.
I've got a lot of
We are 20 minutes from
in my
Ealing
favor, just based on this conversation. So thank you all.
Easton's also home of the Crayola factory, so if it gets, particularly frustrating, you can take up some coloring.
Yeah, no, it's literally, I can see it from my apartment. So,
Well, you would have had Pez here. You could have gone to the Pez factory here.
I know that.
Are we still public?
We are, but we probably should have.
You shouldn't be. Yeah.
Should have called it.
Right. Okay, so I guess we're up for a motion to adjourn, I guess, unless someone's got anything else.
Make a motion to
Before
adjourn.
9 o'clock, guys. Look at this. So I heard a motion to adjourn from Marcy. Is there a second?
Joe Vayuso seconds.
Joe seconds. Any further discussion? All in favor? John, you in favor?
John Lust in favor.
Joe Chadwick.
Joe Chadwick in favor with the happy trails.
All right. Yeah, Joe Vayuso.
Joe Vayuso in favor.
Marcy.
Marcy's in favor.
And I'm also in favor. So I guess that's it. Look at that. Not too bad.
All right. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Yeah.
Good luck, Caitlin.
Safe.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
This program was brought to you in part through the support of the Town of Branford. Watch town meetings and other videos on demand at BranfordTV.org.